Hello, and welcome to Allegheny County Library's Let's Get Lit. Well, this is where we talk about exciting titles so you, our patrons, can know what to read next. We will be talking about hot new titles to the library and also still burning titles, which may be older but are ones we have loved. Let's Get Lit is available in video format on the ACLS YouTube as well as in podcast format on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so you can subscribe for updates when we release new episodes. Let's Get Lit will be bi-monthly, and we would love your feedback as we do this. Contact information will be in the description as well as at the end of the episode. Any titles mentioned will have links to our catalog in the description as well. Now, let's get lit.
I'm Allie.
I'm Shane.
I'm Liz. I'm Laura. And we are starting with our March movie madness today. This will be a two-part podcast.
Let the madness begin.
Let the madness begin. Well, Shane, you had the question, sir, so let's start.
First topic would be, which book would you like to see adapted into a movie or series? Or one that needs to be readapted because the first one sucked?
I mean, there's a lot of those, and don't even start about Stephen King right now, Shane, because I feel like you will. But this is exciting, so I'm going to plug a book quick. One of my favorite authors is Louis Bayard, and he does like alternate history or historical mysteries. And my favorite book that he's ever written is called The Pale Blue Eye, and it's about when Poe was a cadet at West Point. Yes, Poe was a cadet at West Point. Just let that sink in for a little bit. In actual life, before he was a writer. So the mystery is that there are cadets being murdered at West Point. Detective comes and Poe helps him solve the murders. And I was looking at Louis Bayard's website yesterday, and they're actually going to make The Pale Blue Eye into a movie, and Christian Bale's going to play the lead role. So I hope he doesn't yell at everybody on set, but other than that, I think it's going to be really good.
The person that Christian Bale was yelling at was notorious for messing up on set. Just throwing that out.
Oh, I did not know that Shane would have feelings about this situation.
I like Christian Bale.
Okay, I like him too. This wasn't really meant to be a personal attack on Christian Bale. He's an amazing actor. He is.
Is he going to have to transform his body for this role?
I don't think so. I think he just needs to be like, be a gentlemanly detective. So no, I don't think he's going to have to. I hope he doesn't, but he will do an amazing job. I don't know who's playing Poe, but...
Because he likes to do different...
Well, yeah, the
likes
mechanic.
wigs.
Was that the name of it? The mechanic, or when he lost all that weight?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was scary. Liz, what do you got? Nothing.
The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. That's being made into a movie.
I think December of this year is the
Can't
And I
wait.
know lots of book clubs will be watching that.
Oh,
because that was a really popular book.
Firefly Lane is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to go with a sci-fi series, but I tend to be a rom-com lover. I think would be really great is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. It's had a lot of hype around it. It's got a lot of snarkiness. It is basically a dislike to love romance with a woman and kind of like the maintenance guy in her building. And he always catches her doing like really weird things. So then she just is so mean to him. But it's so good and the chemistry is great.
I'll just choose one of the many that I'd like to see realized. And that was actually tried before as a single movie, The Dark Tower. This is the book series by Stephen King. It's like 8 books now.
It's very, yes.
Yeah, very involved.
Very.
The movie was not good for a lot of reasons.
I never watched it.
Don't.
Don't.
Idris Elba was a really good casting choice.
Yeah, I liked the cat, yeah.
But Matthew McConaughey is not really what I had in mind.
Yeah, he's not really sinister.
Yeah. But he's supposed to be charming. I guess that's what they lean too heavy on that. So we're supposed to get a TV series that was dropped by Amazon last year. But I'd like to see HBO pick it up and do it with Mike Flanagan, who did Dr. Sleep.
Oh, okay.
And Gerald's Game. So those are 2 King adaptations.
I love Gerald's Game.
Yeah, he did really well with those. Also, Frank Darabont should get involved. He did Shawshank and The Green Mile and The Mist, which are, 3 of the best.
They are good. We're agreeing right now.
Yeah.
It's early.
Yeah, this is just the first page. First topic. I also would like to see it maybe as an anthology series because each book is kind of different, has a different setting, and it's kind of all over the place. Like the concepts and worlds they visit are pretty strange, and I like to see maybe animated. Violence can get cartoonish at some points, and there's a talking train, and
what good film and book series does not have a talking train?
I'd like to see the Jack Reacher series done and recast it without Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is completely wrong for that role.
I think we agree on that, my friend.
Michael Shannon would make a great Jack Reacher, I think. He's got the personality, I think, and the height, certainly. One more. I want to throw in David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin returning to make The Social Network 2. They made the first movie in 2009, and a whole hell of a lot's happened in the Facebook world since that movie was made.
Did you like the casting of the original one?
Absolutely.
I thought it was really well done as well.
I like to see them return and do the ensuing story about how Facebook is news coverage, let's say.
To say the least, yes. I thought the casting. I'm not on social media. I've never joined Facebook, and I love that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great story that doesn't require you to care about, like, boards and social media.
And Eisenberg's great.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's so disdainful, but you feel for him at times because he's so, not reading the room at all.
Yeah.
So,
or chooses not to read the room.
And poor Armie Hammer, which is a whole nother story, but he, as the Winklevi,
They probably have to recast that.
I mean, they would, unfortunately, but he was a great Winklevi twins, you gotta admit that.
So they could do that because the guy, there was originally...
the Winklevoss, which he called the Winklevi, which
Right.
I enjoyed tremendously.
They had to cast two guys originally to play the twins. And then they decided they couldn't do it convincingly, so what they had to do was the guy who was originally cast as the other twin would shoot all the scenes, and then they had Armie Hammer do the scenes again, and then they just grafted Armie Hammer's scenes or his face onto that guy's head. So he's acting against himself. The guy who originally was cast as the other Winklevoss could play in this.
Oh, he could play the lead.
Okay, what do you look for in a successful movie or series adaptation of a book? Does it need to be completely faithful to the source for you to appreciate it?
I mean, I do have some pet peeves with that, but I think for me anymore, does it capture the essence of the story? Because there are, like, Game of Thrones is a hot button one because they did divert a couple very important storylines from the book, but if you're in the middle of a series and the author hasn't finished it, you have to do what you have to do to move the story along, and I think the essence of the story was, like, preserved there. So for me, if the essence is there, I like it. If it isn't, then I don't. Because a lot of books, there's just no way. You can't do every single thing.
Right.
And which is why I say if you really like something, then go back and read the book because you'll get backstories and things that you're not getting. But, like, I just want the essence of the story there.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be faithful. It just has to have generally the same storyline. And the characters have to be themselves. I don't like when they, like, recreate a character or their personality to fit kind of the narrative of the movie. I want that character to be the character that I liked in the book. I'm a much more character-driven person than story. So most of the time it comes down to more of the characteristics, I think, of the people than the actual story for me.
Well, because you attach to the characters and when they change them, it's very personally offensive.
Oh yeah, I'm like, that isn't the choice that they would make. They wouldn't do that. Like, yeah.
I like it to stay true to the story, but acting also has a lot to do with it. Like, do they have the right actor playing that part? Can they pull that part off? Lovely Bones was a book that I really liked and suggested.
But what the heck was Mark Wahlberg doing in that movie? It was a disaster. It was like, what?
Yeah, it just...
What was he doing in that film? It was awful.
That's what I'm saying. You have to pair up the actor with the part.
Yes.
The character, they have to be able to pull that character off.
Personally, I like Mr. Wahlberg's acting, but not in that. So that is a very good pick, Liz. Excellent.
Like I said, Ryan Gosling would have done it better.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ryan Gosling does a lot of things better.
I would just say more or less what you guys already expressed, that I think that if you try to capture the essence of it, you've done a good job. I've come to peace with the fact that, there's always going to be the book. If you don't like the movie, it's not going to ruin the book for you. You can always go back and appreciate what you experienced the first time you read the book, and the movie's a separate thing. You can't expect them to be copies of one another, and I think oftentimes when they try to do that, they fail miserably. So, I think that I'm not like a expert on it. My life isn't ruined when I see a bad adaptation of a book that I love.
I mean, mine's ruined for a little bit, but you gotta keep it in context.
Sometimes I just gotta distance myself a little afterwards.
But things get readapted so frequently now that if it's bad the first time, they probably will reboot it in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Another service or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, just for a little bit, I'm just like, oh, why? And you said that was good.
Bad adaptations are really great conversation starters amongst other fans.
That's a very good way to look at it.
It can be a bonding moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can strengthen your book discussion.
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to hone that skill?
The next one I think we have some strong feelings about. People say constantly that the book is always better than the movie. You hear that all day long at the library. What are some examples that prove that isn't always the case?
Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't not. And I love Tolkien, and I love the whole thing. But, like, the movies, well, okay, so please, I love Tolkien. I love him. But he can spend 42 pages on one small detail of something.
It's extremely bogged down with details.
And battles go for hundreds of pages, and you forgot what happened 20 pages ago because we're talking about what kind of weed the hobbits are currently smoking. So, yeah, so I think for me, the movie's just, and they got the essence of everything. I think he would have been pleased as could be with those movies. So, yes, I always tend to say the book is better because I just love books so much, but that isn't necessarily the case. And I also think that's in the eye of the beholder. Like, that would be what they think about it. I have seen some books that I love very much, like just what in the world happened there. But then I've seen some great things done.
The Hobbit movie, that's one that I actually wanted to talk about in the first part. But, it was such a disappointment for me because I love The Hobbit. I read that first before Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
It is completely different than The Lord of the Rings. It is a children's tale that had been retrofitted by Tolkien to include some of the stepping stones for The Lord of the Rings. But when they adapted it, it was first going to go to Guillermo del Toro, who
that's interesting.
he just done Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, I love Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, so he had a firm grip on the fantastical, and he spent 18 months in New Zealand getting prepared. Funding didn't come through, had to drop out. So Peter Jackson came back. The Weinsteins are involved.
Oh, there you go.
They wanted 3 movies because they wanted to
get more money.
They wanted to recapture the magic of the Lord of the Rings, which made a lot of money for everybody.
Which will never happen again.
They added so much stuff to The Hobbit that to pad it out in romantic subplots that were not in the book.
It didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense.
No, it was bad. It was flat out bad.
It was bad. And I know it has some defenders out there because I think the only reason people still enjoy it is because it resembles The Lord of the Rings.
That's it.
But I cannot watch them because there's.
I gave up. I have not watched the full whatever.
Yeah.
I gave up.
So what about Game of Thrones? Now, did you read all of the books?
Of course. I started reading them before everybody else did, might I add.
Whoa.
And so.
Did you get that?
Do not make me come over there, Shane, because I will.
That deviated.
If you didn't get the memo, I'm hip and trendy. Go ahead.
But didn't that deviate a bit from the book?
Well, yeah, but the problem was he wasn't finished.
Right.
Not even close to being finished, and they had to do something. Now, I don't love, as somebody who loves the books, I don't love a couple of the choices. But at that point, you can't parcel it. And in the history of the world, he has an opportunity, which I don't think he's ever going to finish. But if he does, he has an opportunity to get full feedback on what happened and then correct it in writing, which has never happened before with something that. But the last time I saw any evidence of him, he was in some kind of inflated bubble running down a road somewhere in the bubble.
He just announced there's going to be another book by one of his early books going to be adapted to a film by Gore Verbinski. He did The Ring and Rango.
So it looks like he's really paying attention to finishing the Game of Thrones then.
He's still committed to his live journal.
He's committing to making me upset.
I mean, we watched it, my husband and I watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
We just couldn't wait for it to start.
I liked the ending, quite frankly.
There's a lot again here that I could get into, but I'll spare everyone and just focus on a couple. One of my favorite movies is Blade Runner, and it's based on the Philip K. Dick book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. It's a 1982 sci-fi film starring Harrison Ford as Deckard, an ex-cop who has to hunt down and retire rogue replicants, which are synthetic humans. The movie takes the basics of the novel, but shreds a lot of the extraneous detail and really creates the most, for my money, the most memorable sci-fi world. I think the best way to describe it is tech noir, where it looks like the future, but it's very familiar as someone who's seen a noir movie from the 40s or 50s before. It introduces sort of moral ambiguity and a lack of clarity for the character Deckard, whereas in the book he's more like an office drone. And the book is trying to say, in the future you're going to be really bored and try to look for anything to pass the time when
Distract yourself.
Yeah, when the world's gone to hell. So in the book he just wants to kill the replicants to get enough money to buy a pet, because the pet, animal life has been wiped off the earth because of the nuclear fallout. So pets are like a commodity. So that's really his motivation in the book, but the film gives him more of a cynical noir detective personality that makes his journey throughout the film more impactful. And in the book, the replicants that he's tasked with hunting down are described as really nothing more than psychopaths. They're incapable of empathy. So what the movie does is it gives the replicants a motivation. They're searching for more life and coming to terms with the universal fear of the unknown. So for me, apart from being a really good sci-fi action movie, it really challenges the viewer with sort of philosophical questions about what real life is. When humans are able to create artificial humans who are capable of emotion, like hate, love, fear, anger, and envy. So the movie is credited with kicking off the cyberpunk genre and its depiction of dystopian LA, where it's constantly raining and the only natural light you actually see is from hovering billboards, some of which are trying to tempt the populace to move off-world because, the Earth is such a hellhole. Mm-hmm. So that sort of mood is contrasted with the humanistic behavior being exhibited by the androids or the replicants. And I love that contrast in that movie. And the book does not have that. It has a lot of those concepts that are kind of clunkily described. Mm-hmm. So Blade Runner is definitely an improvement on the book for me.
There's one I haven't watched, but I've heard Fight Club, the movie, is much better than the book.
It is.
I mean, it's a pretty good movie. I've never read the book, but that would be like Ed Norton, Brad Pitt, it would be a hard Helena Bonham Carter. I love everything about the sentence I just said. So
Yeah.
It would be hard, but I've never read the book, so I couldn't say, but
Yeah, I'm assuming that it would be just because it is such a cult classic.
Yeah.
For a reason.
The book is a little interesting, so I can only imagine.
Oh, you've never seen the film?
No, I have not seen the movie.
But you've read the book?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I should read, because the book isn't long, is it? It's pretty short.
No.
Just to see.
It's just that Chuck Palahniuk is such a interesting writer. He's a very specific taste. Yeah, he pushes the boundaries.
I've never
as
read anything
much
he's
as
written,
possible. Your first Chuck Palahniuk will be your favorite Chuck Palahniuk, and then everything else is just weird.
So maybe I would just do Fight Club just to get because I've seen the movie a million times and I love it. So
Choke is a good one to start with.
I've never, I know nothing about it, sadly.
Invisible Monster one's my favorite.
Yeah, Fight Club's great improvement on the book, I think. I think it makes it more exciting, like the editing and the...
Does a better job at depicting what...
It's very good ending.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about The Shining here?
I mean, Shane, but I will get upset because you have to represent Stephen King's actual point.
I think that my fundamental belief is that you don't have to do that.
My fundamental belief is that you do, Shane. Don't leave my Stevens point of view out. I'll just say quickly.
My Stevens.
Steve, that was the first movie he optioned, but it's the first movie for sure that he signed over complete control to the work. And then, so his fundamental point, as I understand it, was it wasn't a good experience, first of all. Second of all, like the changes. And second of all, he really seems to have fundamental issues with the progression of the Jack Torrance character because it changes his fundamental message of the story. Do I think the Shining movie is better than the book? I will never answer that question.
Well, we need to know.
No.
We need to know.
Nope.
Well, that I firmly believe it is, and it's been many years since I read
You
it.
and a million other people.
But I think that the real reason is because I believe, and I've talked about this before, but I think that the mystery of the movie makes it better. I think that the book explains too much. I think it explains too much about The Shining. I think it explains too much about the hotel.
Well, I'm sorry. Too much good writing?
No, not good writing, just over-explaining. The movie is a lot more effective for me because it is mysterious. You don't know what The Shining is.
It's scary.
It's scary.
As all get out.
Right. The Jack Nicholson or Jack Torrance character arc doesn't bother me because I think it's trying to do something different with him.
Or is that what we're going to say?
He
He played it crazy from the first frame.
He belongs at the hotel. He's
There's
a bad guy.
There's no progression.
He's a bad guy that belongs at the hotel. And
I wouldn't say he's a bad guy. He's troubled and misunderstood.
No, I think he's bad.
He's not. He is a The thing about the book that gets across that the movie doesn't is the fact that he does fundamentally love his family and he does desperately want to be a better man.
I don't think that's scary enough for the movie, for the story. I think the scary part is that he is bad, and the hotel knows that he's bad, and
the hotel knows he's weak.
The hotel's trying to draw him back into the world of the hotel.
Because he's a weak man, but he does love his family, and he does turn out being a jerk face. But
yeah,
he played him crazy from the get-go.
I really appreciated that part, and I think that the tone of the movie is so incredible with the.
I mean, it is. I'm not gonna. It's been on my top 10 list before. I'm not gonna say it isn't, but I do understand where Stephen King is coming from, and I do. To me, the personal struggle of like a weak man who's made some really bad choices, but still fundamentally that struggle of him loving his family is for me the launching point for the rest. The movie is fantastic. Like, who would say it wasn't? Like, the opening sequence is the best opening sequence maybe of any movie. It's close.
Yeah.
So I mean, and if you think about the time when it was made, I mean, there was nothing like that. I mean, it was crazy.
Horror was in a bad place when that movie came out.
Really bad. Like, that's the first intelligent. I mean, it takes you on, like, it's not just jump scares.
Right.
It takes you on a whole journey.
Right.
And it could go either way. You don't know how it's going to go.
The jump scares are from the titles launching at you. Remember when they do the day progression is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it does that.
So.
The blood in the elevator, the creepy twins, it's all of it.
And it's not explained. Why is there blood coming out of the elevator? Because it makes sense for the story. You don't have to explain it.
I mean, I could explain it, but people are tired of hearing me talk already, so.
His movies scare me.
Who's?
Literally. Stephen King. Anyone I've ever watched the whole way through, it's
That's
scary.
Shawshank
It's
Redemption.
scary.
Yeah, I don't like the
Cujo, I
scary
had to
stuff.
stop watching.
Cujo? That's nothing.
Yes, I'm sorry. When a dog acts like that, I just scares me to death.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But I mean, Stephen King does things like The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Hearts in
And I watched The
Atlantis,
Green Mile.
Stand By Me, things that people don't like. One of the best stories I've ever heard him tell, he was in like a market or something in his town, and a lady who was in there and was talking to him, and she pointed to, I think it was The Green Mile, and said, "Why can't you write things like that?" And then after that, he was like, "But I did write it." So,
As you can see, we feel very passionate about books and movies. Join us next time for part 2 as we continue to talk about more great books and adaptations. Thank you for joining us for Let's Get Lit. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. If you have any questions, suggestions, or want recommendations, please contact us either in the comments section, by giving us a call, or by emailing us at letsgetlit@AlleghenyCountyLibrary.info.